Welcome to the first episode of KnitHR's Pattern of Progress, the podcast where we unravel the complexities of HR in the fast-paced world of startups and rapidly scaling companies. I'm Kathy Hernandez, your KnitHR consultant. With over 2 decades of experience in transforming HR functions, I'm here to share insights, stories, and strategies that will empower HR professionals and leaders in this dynamic space. In this podcast series, we will dive into what makes HR in startups and scaling companies a unique adventure. It's a world where agility meets strategy and where every decision can pivot the company's future. It can often feel a little bit like a dedicated HR university. Before we get more into why I say that, let me first tell you a bit about my own journey. My career spans across various industries, from apparel retail to outdoor sports, and from startups to Fortune 500 companies. Much of my time has been spent in the e-commerce and brick-and-mortar retail space. I've had the opportunity to build and transform HR functions, focusing on operations, talent acquisition, performance management, and so much more. In the startup and rapidly scaling space, I've had the pleasure of helping a company scale from just 3 employees to about 50 to 60 in less than a year. Additionally, I've helped an established direct-to-consumer fashion brand scale from about 50-ish employees and no retail stores to 5 brick-and-mortar stores and about 200 employees. That brand was subsequently acquired by the largest retailer in the world. I've also been on the other side of the business, where I was supporting acquired businesses and helped them navigate integration into the new organization. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't always easy. But the skills that I honed, the lessons that I learned, and the professional relationships I got to build were invaluable. As I transition out of the Chief People Officer role and into fractional HR consulting, the one thing I look forward to the most is taking that invaluable education and applying it to help other startups and rapidly scaling companies. Because what truly excites me in the startup ecosystem is that it's a realm where HR isn't just a function, it's a driving force as a company scales. So after that long intro, let's get into it. In the startup world, wearing multiple hats isn't just a common occurrence, it's practically a job requirement. This is especially true in HR, but really it applies to everyone in those early formative days of a startup. As an HR professional, your days will be incredibly varied. Early on, you'll be setting up systems for payroll and benefits and making sure everyone's getting paid accurately and on time. The next, you're deep into the trenches of talent acquisition, searching for those key players who will shape the future of the company. And just when you think you've got a handle on things, you find yourself having to craft company policies from scratch and navigating the complexities of employee relations. The constant shift between roles and responsibilities is truly exhilarating if you enjoy all aspects of HR. It's what makes HR in startups not just a job, but an adventure. But let's be real. As thrilling as it is, it's also a challenge. Whether you're in a fledgling startup or part of an established company gearing to scale rapidly, this environment demands resilience, adaptability, and a certain kind of courage. It's demanding, yes, but equally rewarding. So how do you manage this whirlwind of responsibilities? How do you keep your balance on this fast-moving train? For me, the first step was always about building a great team. It's about putting together a group of individuals who not only have the skills, but also share the vision and passion for what the company is striving to achieve. It's these teams that transform business strategies and visions into reality. They are the foundation upon which everything else is built and the bedrock of startup success. Let's talk about recruitment, a critical piece of the startup puzzle. Unlike larger companies where processes are likely more established, startups require you to build processes from the ground up. And when it comes to finding the right talent, you need to make sure that they don't just fit the job description, but they also embrace the startup culture and understand the potential risk and reward. There are many ways that you can go about hiring in the early days that can both help and hurt your business. I have 3 tips that I want to focus on, as well as a few areas of challenge that I would give startup founders or existing leaders in a rapidly scaling business. First, I strongly know that leveraging your network and the networks of those already on staff is a key component to helping source talent in startup in those early days. But my challenge here is that you need to make sure that those that you're hiring actually have the skill set needed for the role you ultimately want them to do. Again, going back to wearing many hats is a critical part of startup life. Totally understandable. But when you hire people, ultimately know what you want them to do. Getting as clear on job descriptions in those early days will serve you well in the latter days. A secondary challenge I make here is that only hiring those that are known to the existing team will result in a glaring lack of diversity. I don't think that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging should be this thing or this effort that the company has to do. It should be the behaviors and the norms that are embedded in the foundation and culture of the business. Second, most startups build their org structure from the top down, given the level of strategic work that is often required in those early days. While this makes perfect sense, my challenge here is to make sure you hire leaders that understand they will be working leaders. They will have to be in the weeds in those early days, months, and sometimes even years. And very often, seasoned leaders transitioning into the startup space are not used to functioning without a team, or at best, a very lean team with a tight budget. You can experience high turn in these senior leader roles when someone is not truly prepared to function on their own or with a very small team for a specific period of time. Being transparent in the interview process and digging into their experiences in dealing with job ambiguity, small teams, a tight budget, and a rapidly changing strategy will help. Use interview techniques that will truly help you understand how they manage under pressure, how they navigate periods of uncertainty or high stress. Clicking with someone in an interview is great, but sometimes it is very easy to let that click feeling turn into a conversation that veers far away from assessing someone's skills. So you want to be sure to make time for that true skills assessment, if not by you as the hiring manager, by the support from cross-functional partners and HR. My third and final suggestion with recruiting is to know when to get help. This can be hard to determine sometimes, so it is key to partner with the senior leaders in the business to fully understand the desired hiring timeline, the budget available to support that timeline, and what positions take the highest priority. My challenge is here, both to the business and to HR leaders, is to make sure that you don't starve the HR budget in service of scaling the other teams first. As the business is scaling and you're hiring the right people left and right, if you are the only HR person on the team, as you build all of the functions, you become all things to all people. You must quickly assess your HR team at the same time that you're understanding the overarching business strategy and the desired hiring timelines for the other business functions. When does it make sense to bring people on board to support HR operations and the employee experience? When do you bring on a dedicated recruiter, whether part-time, full-time, or temporary, to help you manage the volume of screenings, interviews, and the overall candidate experience? Candidate experience informs future employee experience, so you have to get it right at the onset if you are to mitigate culture problems that may lie ahead when you don't get it right. As the HR leader, you have to be a fierce advocate for yourself and for the team, making sure that you can scale just as quickly as the rest of the business. This is where we'll end the first episode of the podcast. I have so much more to share with you in the future. Throughout this podcast series, we'll dive deeper into many topics. We'll explore effective recruiting strategies, the nuances of building diverse and inclusive workplaces, how to navigate legal challenges in a fluid environment, and we'll talk a bit more about my own journey, the successes, the challenges, and the invaluable lessons that I've learned. I look forward to also bringing some guests to join us so that they too can share their own valuable experiences, successes, and challenges. I hope you'll join us. Thank you for tuning in to KnitHR's Pattern of Progress. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review on your favorite platform. Stay connected with us on our social media channels, including LinkedIn. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and keep making a difference in the HR world.